Hi folks, so here is my next of the half an hour before sunset astrology videos that I've been doing recently. The so-called Great Conjunction or Grand Conjunction between Saturn and Jupiter happens every 19 years, and the next one is on December the 21st of 2020, which is a few months away, a little over 2 months away. But you may well wonder why I'm doing this video now. Well, it's because we can start to feel the impact of Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn going direct, having gone direct recently in Capricorn, and all energies being directed to this Grand Conjunction or Great Conjunction on December 21st, 2020. The last Jupiter-Saturn conjunction happened in the middle of 2000, the year 2000. Let me give you a lay of the land. The sun is in the sign of Libra, getting ready in the middle of this month, October, to have its new moon in the sign of Libra. The planet Mercury is in Scorpio, getting ready to get direct in about 5 days, go retrograde, in the next 5 days. Venus is in Virgo. Mars is retrograde in Aries. Jupiter and Saturn are both in Capricorn. Uranus is retrograde in Taurus, Neptune is retrograde in Pisces, Pluto is now direct in Capricorn, and Chiron is retrograde in Aries. So we have what I refer to as this churn right now between planets that have been trying to move us forward since the middle of this year being retrograde, and planets that are encouraging us to finish up learnings and lessons and opportunities that have been in play since December 2017, but especially the middle of 2018, direct now, and gathering momentum to finish up those tasks so that we can make room for the new. This kind of churn, this kind of push and pull of backwards energy, retrograde energy, and direct energy ends for me around November the 15th, when really the critical planets that count, especially in this case Mercury and Mars, are going to be direct. So we're going to have Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, all direct by that time. And between the middle of November, as I've said, to the beginning of January, we're going to see a fair amount of acceleration and forward movement. Till then, we're still now starting to actively finish the old, but still meditate a little bit and hold back on and reconsider and think about newer energies. That's where we're at. When it comes to the planets moving forward, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto, the way this is going to occur is Jupiter is going to move forward and conjunct Pluto first in Capricorn on November the 11th, 12th, depending on where you are, and then it is going to keep moving forward, and both Jupiter and Saturn in the middle of December, within days of each other, I think it's like the 17th and the 19th, will move into Aquarius. And in the very first degree of Aquarius, they will have this conjunction on the 21st. I think Saturn moves up on the 17th of December. You're welcome to correct me if I'm wrong. Jupiter moves up on the 19th, and on the 21st, they meet. And there's this grand conjunction. The effect of the grand conjunction in terms of what it means to finish up activities is going to be felt in the sign of Capricorn and where Capricorn has been. The idea that this grand conjunction creates the opportunity for something new, and I'm going to expand to that in a second, is going to occur wherever the sign of Aquarius falls in your chart. Okay? So Capricorn falls in a certain part of your chart. It occupies a certain house in your chart, and that house stands for certain things. And in that house, there's been a need to really look at what is blocking you from fulfilling your potential, start to actively take steps around building the necessary skills, doing the requisite work, cultivating a sense of discipline, and moving towards building a strong foundation. There's been a need to release behaviors and patterns that are no longer working, and a lot of this activity now accelerates to completion in the sign of Capricorn before we head into Aquarius. As far as the sign of Aquarius is concerned, Saturn briefly moved into Aquarius between March and the end of June of this year, 2020, briefly, has moved back in Capricorn, and now, of course, along with Jupiter, they make this grand entrance into Aquarius close to the end of December, between December 17th and 19th, and then December 21st, a grand conjunction. So, as I said, I know I'm repeating myself, the acceleration, the movement towards the great conjunction, and the tumult and the completion of tasks is going to be felt in the sign of Capricorn The new opportunity that is created as a result of this tumult will be in the sign of Aquarius and where it sits. Keep in mind that at least socially and politically, Saturn's activity in the sign of Aquarius led to a great deal of vocalization, protests around Aquarian themes: equality, justice, fair play, rationally approaching societal improvement, scientifically, technically, rationally approaching scientific, humanitarian improvement. Okay, so we got a flavor of that. What this means, while Saturn is in Aquarius for the next couple of years or so, is anyone's guess. Are we going to have a leadership and a presidency that is going to evoke more protest, or are we going to have in the States the leadership or presidency that creates or gives way to some of this reform, or is there going to be some sort of tussle between the two? We're going to wait and see what happens here. Now, when it comes to one thing I want to get out of the way, when it comes to a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction every 20 years, what has been found is that when this conjunction occurs, either in the year of a presidential election, and this is in the United States, or the year of an inauguration, there is risk to the life of a US president. There can either be an assassination and the president passes away, or the president passes away based on natural causes, however natural they might be, or there's an assassination attempt, or there's some sort of impact to the mortality of a president. If the conjunction happens, once again, in the year of an election or the year of an inauguration. We've already seen our current president deal with the impact of coronavirus. It does not always mean, and indeed the last 2 times it has happened, it has been an attempt and an unsuccessful attempt to take the life of the president. So it does not always lead to mortality, but it's a fascinating energy. And I'm not yet ready to put my finger on which one of the 2 candidates it impacts, because November the 3rd is November the 3rd on the date of the election here, and December 21st, the date of the Grand Conjunction, is the date of the Grand Conjunction. We're going to wait and see how and where that goes. Some would argue that we've already seen something occur as far as the President of the United States is concerned that may have threatened his mortality. Hopefully, he will defeat it, no matter how we feel, whichever side of the aisle we sit on. Hopefully, he will recover and move forward healthily, as we would hope for anyone. The first thing that's going to happen is Jupiter and Pluto are going to meet up in Capricorn. Jupiter and Pluto, this is going to be the 3rd conjunction this year. I have noticed that a Jupiter-Pluto conjunction, the planet of expansion, Jupiter, meeting up with the planet Pluto, the planet of death and transformation, has each of the 3 times led to an increase in COVID coronavirus cases. I've mentioned this in previous videos recently, and indeed we're seeing an increase in these numbers. Why the planet of expansion, the planet of death and transformation have to meet 3 times this year and create this, and what it's going to lead to, anyone's guess. We're waiting to see. Does it lead to greater healing? Does it lead to a breakthrough solution? Certainly the Jupiter-Pluto conjunctions, as far as I can tell, I'm not privy to what is going on scientifically, have not directly been linked to a breakthrough as much as they've been linked to an expansion. Could the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, it was the Saturn-Pluto conjunction as we headed into the beginning of 2020 that actually brought COVID or coronavirus into our consciousness. So these 3 planets have played a significant role this year in a lot of the transformatory, I think I may have invented a word, quality that this year has had. They are heavy-hitting planets. You've got the planet of new beginnings and endings, Jupiter, expansion, meeting up with the planet of death and transformation, Pluto, meeting up with the planet of restriction, foundation building, weeding out and removing any behaviors and patterns that are not serving us to create a stronger foundation, the planet of discipline. And all 3 planets have a fated, they're not planets that are about our agency. We get to deal with the consequences of all 3 of these planets. When Jupiter and Saturn, we have more active engagement. With Pluto, we simply have to accept whatever it is that Pluto is transforming. We don't have a lot of agency or power when it comes to Pluto. Pluto does things to us. Jupiter and Saturn do as well, but they require our engagement and our involvement and our partnership. Okay? So November 11th is the first of these dates with the Pluto conjunction, and then Jupiter-Saturn on December 21st. There's a lot that is said about this great grand conjunction. When people are born under the shadow of this transit or with this transit in their chart, it gives them a lot of, it depends on what sign it is in, and it depends on which of the two planets is stronger. Is it in Sagittarius or Pisces? In which case Jupiter is stronger. Is it in Capricorn, Aquarius? It is this year in Aquarius. Saturn is stronger. Irrespective, Jupiter is the planet of good luck and good fortune and opportunity and auspicious new beginnings and expansion and blessings, and no matter where it is, the restrictive, get real Saturn energy, discipline, binding, affects Jupiter's buoyancy. So even if it is in a sign where Jupiter is stronger, that Jupiter rules, this is fundamentally a powerful restrictive energy. The most important thing I want to mention is that when Jupiter and Saturn conjunct, feelings of depression, feelings of anxiety are experienced by practically everyone. There's an emotional pull to the fact that the planet of our luck and God and blessings is meeting, let's just say the planet of sort of two godlike planets, two God-related planets, one that eases our path and one that strengthens our path by creating obstacles, are meeting up together. So it's not the most free-flowing of energies. It is a powerful foundation-building energy. People who have Jupiter and Saturn conjunct can be truly powerful contributors to the world. I'm not going to get into in this video how and why. Themes of depression can be prominent themes for people in this chart. Jupiter-Saturn aspects can sometimes be seen to play a key role in the charts of people who deal with bouts of pessimism. However, it is also an extraordinarily powerful combination when harnessed correctly in order to produce and create something truly lasting. These videos are not about chart interpretation for these conjunctions for people who have them in the chart. I'm just giving you this to, the primary purpose of my mentioning all this is, if things are feeling emotionally challenging and tumultuous, and if it really feels like something is ending to make way for something new, you got it. What I have noticed with Jupiter-Saturn conjunctions, with the grand conjunction last time, the middle of 2000, is that it creates an intensity that seems to come from outside of something that we can control. And that intensity is often experienced as something constricting and frustrating and debilitating and even sometimes humiliating and restricting. It's like everyone on this planet is going to be given a C- on their report card, and we're all going to be in the state of what on earth? But the reason that that C- is being given is so that something can be a greater awareness. When it comes to Saturn, it's all about adulting constantly, moving more and more into adulthood. And it doesn't really stop, because you have a Saturn return between 28 to 30. You have these Jupiter-Saturn conjunctions and other things that Saturn does during your life. And then you have a second Saturn return between 56 and 60. And, you know, the transits and the way the planets talk to each other continue. So it's a constant. With Saturn, it's about responsibility for oneself. It is about our own discipline. Saturn has a tendency to undercompensate in order to, or under-reward in order to push you, until it decides that it's ready to reward you, and then those rewards can have a very strong foundation. But a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction is like a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction is a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction is like a wrecking ball on a building's foundation. And I smile right after that. A Jupiter-Saturn conjunction is like a wrecking ball on a building's foundation. Jupiter, the planet of auspicious new beginnings, is trying to create a new beginning. I've referred to it in the sign of Capricorn because we've had these energies, these eclipses of release in a Saturn transit and a Jupiter transit and a Pluto transit at the same time in Capricorn. I've referred to Jupiter's impact as trying to create greening in a forest fire. Try to get the green shoots to appear after this forest fire that has been raging in the sign of Capricorn since at least with intensity since December 2017, but really before then because Pluto has been here before then. So when this planet of expansion, new beginnings, meets with Saturn, the planet of discipline, restriction, obstacle, Saturn believes in creating resistance to build your strength, which means that you are going to encounter resistance. You're going to encounter that difficult boss. You're going to encounter that difficult grade. You're going to get that difficult question in the exam that you hoped would not show up. You're going to, you're ready to go for your swim meet and you want 10 things to be right, but those 3 that you really want to be right are not going to be right. So you've really got to apply yourself. When these 2 planets meet up, Jupiter's intention for creating a new beginning is taken seriously. And new beginnings come from endings. The ending itself may not manifest till next year in its complete destruction, but this wrecking ball energy is what this Jupiter-Saturn conjunction is about. And whether you're looking at the election, whether you're looking at where the sign of Capricorn sits in our presidential candidates' charts, where the sign of Capricorn sits in your chart and what house it occupies, where the sign of Aquarius sits in your chart and what sign that occupies. With Capricorn and where it occupies, it is time to get serious and it is time to adopt the good habits and the disciplined behaviors that are going to create the right new beginnings for you. And in the sign of Aquarius, it is time to welcome, with the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction happening in the 1st degree of Aquarius, you can't make this up, it is time to welcome some serious new beginnings and some change there. And I would actually be excited about that. What it means for the next 3 months is, number 1, be very conscious of the fact that you're going to have mood swings. You're going to have, more than anything else, screw mood swings. Depression, anxiety, a feeling of futility, more importantly, a feeling of failure. Okay? You're going to have to ride through this. You're going to have to ride through this. With the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction, which I think is squaring Mars on November the 11th, wherever it's happening, and an urge to finish up these, some people, if this conjunction or these transits are happening in the sign of health, or, there could be a breakdown. It could be that to create a new beginning, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto just decide they're going to create that wrecking ball that collapses you to the floor so that you then have to construct from there. You could meet people during this time that play a really productive role, especially if they come into wherever Aquarius sits in your chart. We are all, for the next 3 months, in God's hands. He's got the whole world in his hands, and it's going to have that feeling with Jupiter and Saturn coming together. I don't know that all of us can remember the middle of the year 2000, but it's a similar feeling. And it's a very unnerving feeling when we're all doing our best to drive the car and the car starts to move on its own. And we're driving it, but there's only so much control we really have because there are other forces that are moving us into a different lane or moving us somewhere else or turning us around or doing whatever. And somewhere our emotional reactions to these changes, whether they're external, through the virus, through social and political changes, through the presidential election, through everything that's going to... And of course, keep in mind, October 15th to November 3rd, Mercury goes retrograde. November the 3rd is the day of the presidential election, and Mercury is stationary on that day. It's not even retrograde, it's not even direct. Talk about suspension. Are we going to get a result on that day, or are we going to have to wait till Mercury really heads up and gets a certain amount of steam and we're heading towards this grand conjunction before we get the answer? Is there going to be some violence that we have to deal with till then? What are we going to deal with as far as COVID is concerned? All these questions are present, and they're here. I've mentioned this to you before. I didn't know that I would be doing a grand conjunction video today, and I thought I was just going to do a recap today, and I thought, no, I need to do the grand. When I talk to my clients, I sense the despair, I sense the frustration, I sense the sense of impotence. And we're going to have to let Jupiter and Saturn and Pluto do what they think they need to do. And that is an unnerving and an uncomfortable feeling as we head towards December, the middle of December, even the end of December. And then we start the new year 2021 and see where we find ourselves, and we dust ourselves off and we move forward. It is not all gloom and doom. The purpose of a Jupiter and Saturn conjunction is to awaken us. I believe that. It is to grow us up. It is to snap us out of certain... The purpose of a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction is to create a quantum leap in learning. That is what establishes the baseline for this next new beginning, for this next new cycle of adulthood that is marked by this conjunction. There are various transits that mark adulthood and greater awareness and greater consciousness. So in that regard, whatever this is here to snap us out of it and to elevate us and to make us really conscious of our next levels. But the only way to get conscious of our next level way of functioning is to be made aware of where we are failing and where we are not effective. And it is in those areas where we are failing and not effective, where we often, that could be in our blind spot, but more importantly, often we don't have the solutions on our own, and often we don't have the tools to correct ourselves. We're often out of our depth in those areas. So we're made to feel like we're getting that C- or D or F on our report card. We are made to feel as if we're somehow deficient and don't know how to fix it. We're made to come face to face with a sense of failure. Because it's only when we sit with that, with this Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, that the conjunction can elevate us and say, all right, the last 19 years are over. Now we create this new beginning for you. It'll take a second to get going, but take stock of where you are at. Take stock of the level of challenge that we are trying to present to you, and especially pay attention to the fact that we're letting you know that you are not ready for it, but you are getting clear about what you need in order to be ready for it and adopt those changes quickly. So if someone wants to be a leader in a company, it could be that they, in order to prepare them, Jupiter and Saturn really shows them where they are failing. They could get laid off, they could get booted off, they could be punished somehow in an organization or corporation. They could really go through some sort of calamity, but it's through that calamity or crisis or feedback or F grade or D- grade that they go, oh my God, I want this. But currently I'm behaving like this, and I don't know if they're conscious, and I don't know how to get to that next level. All Jupiter and Saturn are saying, we got you. We know you want to be the CEO of a corporation, of a Fortune 500 corporation. I'm making this up. We're letting you know where we think you're at. And typically with the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, you're made to feel incompetent. But the purpose of that is to let you know where you are at, because where you're getting that F grade or D- grade is exactly the skill or the competence that you need to factor in and build and grow. And it's not, I need to go get a degree for 3 years in order to build it. It's like, no, get conscious of it, change gears, incorporate it as you head into 2021. Because it will be something that you are going to need to utilize and grow in order to get to that next level, in order to meet your goal. Okay? I'm going to leave you with this. Fascinating astrology for the next 3 months, guys. Fascinating astrology. Challenging astrology emotionally in many respects. But there's structures and edifices that are crumbling in order to create the new. And in many respects, as far as the charts are concerned, Biden and Trump are more evenly matched than Clinton and Trump were, at least as far as I know, so I can tell. So it's not a question of calling the result of the election and assuming anything, because a Jupiter-Saturn conjunction can very well give you, whoever you are and whatever you want, an outcome that does not make you happy, whether you are conservative or liberal, and then makes you work for the world you want to create. For all of us, on a personal level, this transit cannot be ignored. And for all of us over the next 3 months, there may well be opportunities that come up. But there is a wrecking ball that is making its presence felt, or has made its presence felt. And feelings of futility, frustration, feeling like you're swimming against the current. The title of this video was going to be Beside Ourselves, because we're going to be beside ourselves. We already are beside ourselves. Based on all the news we're getting, whether it's personal or global, especially political, we're already beside ourselves with the stuff that is happening everywhere. But the right, I might still go with beside ourselves, but another title for this video could very well be Swimming Against the Current. Both would apply. And the resulting sense of futility and sadness and depression and anxiety, frustration, all of those will tell you that the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction is at work. And if you say, Abhi, what is the solution? What do I pay attention to? I would say pay attention to, if you can bring yourself, really think about, and you will know this intuitively, really think about what those skills are that you need to develop and bring to the fore. Really think about what those skills are that you need to develop and bring to the fore to dispense with your current sense of failure. It's not that we're failing in every aspect of our lives. It's not that we may be failing at all. This may actually come to us, and it often does with Jupiter and Saturn, on the heels already of a certain amount of change over the summer of 2020. And it's moving towards trying to create a new beginning and an elevation. So lean into it and try to think about, and it's not, the sense of failure is not that you did something wrong or that you did something poorly. It may just mean, this is what it means. Here we go. This is what I've been waiting for 28 minutes as I've been doing this video. It's a question of what will make you more effective. It's a question of what will make you more effective and therefore more successful. It's not necessarily a question of being right. I say this to my clients often. You can be right or you can be effective. Very often, if you are right, you may not be effective. You will have the satisfaction of being right. You can walk around and say, I was right. Nobody listens to me. I'm always right. Good for you. What difference does it make? You may well not be effective. So the elevation is here to make us more effective and therefore be able to move towards our goals. On that fantastic note, man, I feel good about this video. Feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. Click the bell icon when you do that, because then you'll be notified whenever I do a video. You can use my email address. God, I thought I would do this while there was daylight. How can I be more effective? Use my email address in the description area to get in touch with me if you want to inquire about rates for readings, or if you want me to make an easy to read version of your chart that tells you which sign is in which house and what those houses stand for. Do not send me your birth date or time or location. Inquire about rates first so that I can let you know what the rates are before I get your personal information sitting in my inbox. Feel free to like the video. If you liked it, comment on it. Likes and comments give it more circulation, and I will leave it at that. One more thing. With the Sun in Libra moving towards this new moon, it's going to oppose Mars, and it's going to square Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto. So this kind of beside ourselves feeling, is operating on both a macro level with these planets in Capricorn conjuncting Jupiter, conjuncting Pluto, and then conjuncting Saturn, but also on a more micro level. So irritation and frustration and conflict and that kind of feeling are in the air. October is not an easy month. October is not an easy month. And on the 15th, Mercury goes retrograde. That tells me what my next video is going to have to be about Mercury retrograde. So that's what I will do it on. All right, folks, over and out. I hope you enjoyed this one. I enjoyed doing it. Bye.